So today is September the 10th, 2024, and we are at the Museum of Chincoteague Island.
I'm Jane Silveria, Thornton Silveria. I was born as Jane Thornton, April the 22nd, 1956, here on Chincoteague Island.
Paul Kleckner, 68. Yesterday.
You're 68 in one day.
I was born in Silveria Hospital.
Good afternoon. This is Donna, Leonard. We're coming to you with two folks that I had the pleasure of growing up with, Paul Kleckner and Jane Thornton Silveria. And we're going to start today's interview just with them telling us about who their people were, how they ended up to be Main Street kids on Chincoteague, Virginia, growing up in the 60s and early 70s. So Paul, go ahead, tell us who your mom was, who your grandfather was, and
My mother was Irene Watson. My grandmother was Ruby Watson. My grandfather was James. And actually, spent a minute night with my great-grandmother at a Thornton.
And where did she live?
Clark Street.
Clark Street?
Mm-hmm.
And your mother had lots of brothers who were
Harold
very
Watson,
well known.
Tommy Watson. Frog. Yeah.
And they all were funny. They all had a sense of humor, as I recall.
I'm lucky to be alive. And that's no joke.
And so you weren't born here, were you, Paul?
Yeah.
You were born on Chincoteague?
Mm-hmm. But then we left two different times.
And how did your mother meet your father?
Actually, my father's father, my father lived in Pennsylvania. And of course that was during World War II. So that was my grandfather. He actually came to Chincoteague to pull his duty like in the reserves over there with Dr. Amron. So I met with all the Clarks. So he made it come down here to hunt fish. And ended up being killed in the steel mill because he worked for Bethlehem Steel. And his mother brought my father here because he was 4 or 5 and he never left.
So he spent most of his childhood here.
Oh yeah, he quarterback football and Chincoteague.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Jane, tell us who your people were.
Jimmy Thornton was my father. He met my mother Mary at the Methodist Church roller skating when they were like, I don't know, 18, 20 years old. My grandfather was Russell Thornton of the Thornton Brothers Seafood. There were 8 of them, I think, made it to adulthood out of all of the Thornton children. My grandparents were Julia Sharpley and James Thornton. I was born on Chincoteague in my mother's house and grew up here and never knew that it. Yeah, on the road. Your grandfather Leonard used to always call me money bags. He told me that I had every penny I ever had been given because he would give me a penny and I'd stick it in my purse and I'd walk away with it. That's what he called.
So your mother was not from Chincoteague?
No, my mother was from Oyster, but she was actually born in Clam.
And she came to the Methodist Church to go skating all the way from Oyster?
She was her mother was friends with, I can't remember the woman's name. They lived like at the foot of the bridge, the new bridge, not the old bridge. And her husband was an invalid, and Miss Laura and Mr. Charlie. And Miss Laura needed some help taking care of her husband, and Mom would do anything to get out of Oyster, so she said, sure, I'll go to Chincoteague and help. So that's how she got here. And my father was deaf, so he couldn't ask my mother out. He couldn't speak. She didn't know sign language. So my Aunt Cleo called up Laura's house and asked to speak to the young lady that was staying with her because they didn't know who she was. And she said, well, that's Mary Hughes. And she put Mom on the phone and she says, you met my brother at the church the other night roller skating and he wants to ask you on a date, but he's deaf and he can't do it. And she agreed to go, and they double dated her and my aunt Uncle Barney and my dad, and they double dated. And my dad wasn't 21 yet when he asked her to marry him, and she would not marry him until he turned 21 because she didn't want his parents to have to sign for him. So they got married 3 days after he turned 21.
And so both of you grew up on Main Street, waterfront, and you've just brought up Barney and Cleo, your Barney Hurdle and your Aunt Cleo, your brother's sister. And at one time, where the bridge comes into Chincoteague now was Barney's campground. And Barney's campground, probably before we became a tourist town, because he did cater to people who were coming in going flounder fishing.
Yes.
So there was a little recreation hall at Barney's campground, and I would like you two to tell me about your young days going to the rec and the pool hall at Barney's campground, and then you can finalize it with what you were talking about before, or maybe you should start with the foundation that that area was built on, because I've heard stories of all kinds of stuff being under that area. So go ahead, Paul.
When they went to fill it in, they started bringing cars down there. Nobody could figure out what he was doing. So what they ended up doing is to fill in, to make fill, they took all these old cars and just pushed them right into water. You stacked them on top of one another, covered it with sand, and probably wouldn't even
Oyster shells.
oyster shell, and it probably wouldn't even 3 months later there was trailers there.
Barney's campground.
And the majority of the people that came there to the campground were actually from like Greenbackville. I mean, there were mainlanders, a whole lot of them.
Is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't tourists, you know, from all over. A lot of them were like, you know, local people, really.
Well, I remember the pool
Yeah.
table in the middle of the rec hall.
Cigarette machine.
Full table cigarette machine, pinball machine.
Yeah.
There was a pinball machine. I learned to shoot pool there because we were talking about the other pool hall on the island, and they didn't allow girls. Not that my mother would allow me to go anyway, but they did not allow girls in the pool hall.
But there were tourists that came there.
Yeah.
There were.
And Jane just told me that on her journey here, she stopped and visited with somebody that she had met 50 plus years ago at Barney's campground. There were lifelong friendships made there.
Oh, yeah. Not for sure.
Yeah, we used to have Mr. Garcia. Do you remember him? He used to come and he would bring a truck full of young boys with him, all boys from the neighborhood, and he would set up the tents and everything and stay at Barney's. And like you said, I stopped and visited with Vicky, and he still has very fond memories of coming down here as a youth and going to the beach and fishing and everything.
And so again, on Main Street, you all did a lot of stuff that the kids these days can't do.
That's for sure.
So, as youngsters on Main Street and on the waterfront, now, Jane, your mom and dad ran a boat rental company.
Yes.
And that is where the Comfort Suites is today. That's where you grew up. The waterfront there where the Comfort Suites is was your backyard and your father's little rental place, and he built a couple of rooms there to rent to fishermen that were coming in. Both of y'all spent a lot of time on boats when you were kids.
Yeah.
So tell us some stories of your boats when you were, I would guess, 10, 12, younger than that?
Probably
I think 9 or 10.
8 or 9. I had a little, what I call a little gasoline scout, she was real narrow. But my grandfather's, it would take $12 for it. Never had a motor. So you pulled or anywhere you want to go. So most mornings I get up early in the morning and go up there up past Dr. Shallot's and Rick Klein. And when we come back down, sell them and then get back in, but like for a cent or sometimes 2 cents each. Then we'd take and spend all the money at Buck White's, the restaurant, on hamburger. So the next day we'd go back to the same thing. But fun though back then, you know. Like I say, we didn't have no motor.
Well, so we had a little 10.5-foot scow with a 5.5 horsepower motor. I was a townie. And we were allowed to go over to Pop-Pop's clam beds over on Latinairs. Same thing, 2 cents a clam. It was good money. And then we had the boat rental business, so the tourists would come in and for 5 cents a piece, I would scale and fillet flounders. So I make lots of money. So I didn't know until the other night on our little boat cruise we did that I guess I was special being a girl having a boat. When Bonnie Jean said she thought she was special, I just thought everybody had a boat. I never thought about the fact that I was a girl and only the guys had. So I was, let's see, I sideswiped a boat one time down at the bridge. Remember the little cut through? If you went through the bridge, there was a little cut through over Black Nares. I came through there too fast and sideswiped the boat. Yeah.
But there were rules as to how far you could go.
For me, it was the rules for you, Paul.
Yeah, but
Well, you were on the pole.
Yeah, he
You guessed that too far
it
anyway.
comes through. He said, "Yeah, but," and shook his head, which meant he had rules, but he didn't follow them. But you had specific.
I couldn't go past Dr. Shelley's. I was as far north as I could go. Couldn't go past Dr.
it's your way
Shelley's.
to about.
I could go over to Black Nares. Couldn't go any past Black Nares. And I could go to Captain Bob's. And that was it. That was my limit.
So you had the Chincoteague Channel and not beyond.
And Black Nares.
Now, when I was 13, my father, I was climbing some. My father gave me a little bit of money. I went to Swedesboro and he built a scout. I think it was like 45. It was 13 foot. And Jack Dempsey Biden helped him, so that lowered the price of the boat. But in order for me to pay off my debt, I had to go keep his shots in the gut. And I wanted to watch him that thing.
Well, I think you spent a lot of time with a lot of old heads.
Yeah, but once we stopped, that's another story.
All right. Well,
Sure.
clams, oysters, fish. Let's talk about those shellfish and how they provided jobs for you as a teenager.
I actually working on the water weighing clams, the raking clams, but still we were selling for 2 cents a piece. I think I was either 12 or 13 when I started some commercial fishing over running Glen Bass. He had a big old prize, like 23 foot scout. Like I said, I wasn't like 12 years old when I was a cat. I set nets in the cove every evening and in the morning, get up, you crack through the dark, we can fish the nets. Just soon I get that done and pack the fish out, I get a third. I was really supposed to get 2/3, but Glen Bass were a tight count. They kind of used me, you know what I mean? And they would get younger boys to help me, but they weren't working nothing. So most of the work was on me. So I was done in the mornings usually about 8 or 9 o'clock.
And this was
sometimes
before
10.
school.
Sometimes before school, and then in the summer it was over. And I made good money. I mean, I was making much money as a man. I was making over $100 a week back then. I was in the 7th grade, 8th grade. And I just was tumbled right ass to my surfboard, and that was my deal all summer long.
Fishing in the morning and surfing in the
Oh, yeah,
afternoon.
it was great.
Well, we used to fish for minnows.
No,
We would put our minnow traps out on the marsh over there and go back a couple of times a day and collect minnows and sell the minnows at the boat rental business. And we would go oystering with my pop-up, and we would go bait fishing. We'd go out at night with the nets and catch bait fish and sell them to the crabbers. And there were many times I was out on the boat collecting crabs out of the crab pots. So, like I said, I never thought about the fact that I was a girl and we didn't do those things. It was just part of life.
So another memory of downtown that I don't hear a lot about, but I certainly remembered it because I was not old enough to enjoy, and that was Clayton's Dance Hall, which is located now
for the tiki bar.
Behind the tiki,
yeah.
behind where the tiki, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the old landing dock from when the ferry came in to bring
From
Shanty from
Greenbackville,
Greenbackville.
Okay.
I
They called it
remember
the
it
wharf,
had-
I think.
That's part of the wharf. And Clayton Savage opened it up as a dance hall. So talk a little bit about the bands that we had around here at that time. And they had teen dances at the Legion,
Yeah.
and Clayton's was a happening place.
Yeah, what he got, and where he got them, there were tea boxes. You remember them tea boxes he had to sit on? We were like teenagers, and we went in there and kind of like cleaned the place up, fixed it up, painted some stuff all over the ceiling.
I don't know why we didn't fall in the channel.
I think we did sometime.
Yeah, I don't know why the whole building didn't fall into the channel. And we had local bands, Danny Driscoll, he had several bands, and we had bands from
Joe Scott Baker.
Joe Scott. We had people from Parksley that were in bands that would come up and
From
play.
Atlantic?
Political Word.
Yeah, so we had lots of local bands, nothing, no famous.
They were teenagers as well.
Yes, or a little bit older, like
Yeah.
Danny, and then was maybe like in the early 20s as they got a little older. But yeah.
The place was popping from those days.
And every Saturday night, every Saturday
Is
night.
that what it was?
Yeah.
It was on Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't think we had Friday, I think it was Saturday.
Saturday night. That,
I think it was only there for a couple years.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe about 3.
a lot of fun.
It was. It gave us something to do. We didn't have to drive to Kokomo to go up to their little team place
And
there.
you remember what that place was called in Potomac?
Story?
No, that was later. Starlight was a
The
bar.
teenage place downtown.
Oh,
With all the-
Transmedia.
Transmedia.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, we used to get with us on us.
All that Dago thing up there.
You had to just get somebody to drive you to Transmedia, or your
Oh,
Oh, I
parents
was
drive you.
driving by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were driving by then.
We went to a cornfield and going down.
Went through a cornfield.
That's why we ended up way in the cornfield. We come out there below, just bad, real bad turn, you know.
Well, let's go back to Chincoteague a little bit. So, as you were growing up, we were partially unincorporated,
Operate.
and so if you wanted to drive before you got a license, you just stayed completely in the unincorporated parts of town.
That was right.
Do you have any memories of stuff you did in the unincorporated parts as compared to incorporated parts?
Well, Mom used to drive me, we'd stop at the high school, because that was the end of corporation. And she let me drive all the way up to the turntable and back to the high school, and then we'd switch and drive home. So that was I learned to drive, without my license. I think a lot of things we did was on the beach.
How about chunking eggs?
A lot of egg chunks. Or during Halloween, me and Cooper found this big old tree where the funeral was.
It's on Church Street.
No, that was five feet long. It was a big old tree. We had all the eggs up there. The night before, we stacked them up there and had them all full. So we heard this. Just knew it was a big truck. We cut down on it. It was Andy Linton, his brand new Cobra Mustang. He slammed on me. Look, he's a big man. We were little. We shimmied down that tree. We dug out running. It was behind it with that glade. Yeah, we were in mud. All the way up the there. We scared that boat. He was not happy.
Did he find you?
We finally went home.
Did he catch you?
No, ended up going to Lentars. The Lentar had a big old Halloween party. Of course, they were having fun there. And he was telling them, I find that, you did that. And we were sitting there like,
So now let's go find out.
now you think?
Is he still alive?
Yeah, but it was us.
So chunking eggs was something I don't know that they still do that for fun anymore, but it certainly was a big thing.
And we used to roll Mr. Gillis' house every year too.
You rolled
One year we
Mr.
didn't do it, we
Gillis'
got his feelings hurt.
Toilet paper.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. You roll
Yeah.
people's houses
Oh,
with
yeah,
toilet paper.
elected, you know.
Down
So that one.
And so the mosquito truck is something that Get Your Itch used to rub behind.
Oh, it would be coming down the street.
We
you'd
couldn't
hear-
wait for it.
You'd hear it coming down the street. You'd run out, jump on your bicycle, and you'd be pedaling as fast as you could, just sucking in all that spray.
Now you know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, and now you know why so many Chincoteagues like they are.
I thought they were drinking them.
It was. I mean, we would do anything to be. The smell was wonderful, and it was great. We loved it.
And so Jane, I think I've never heard that you ever said anything about duck hunting. How did you miss that?
I never got to hunt ducks. Never got to hunt at all. I don't know if they thought that, like I talked about girls, maybe they didn't think we should have guns. I remember Papa let Jenny shoot his shotgun one time, and she was standing out behind a little brick house. And he told her, put it up to her shoulder. I was 4 years younger. She was probably about 12. And she put that shotgun up there, and she hit that shotgun. When she did, it slammed her shoulder between the brick wall and the shotgun, and she was like bruised all the way down, and I never wanted to shoot that gun. And I own that gun today, and I still haven't shot that gun.
But on the other hand, Paul, you did a lot of gun.
Yeah, I actually worked at Pope's Island for 2 winters.
And tell us about Pope's Island Station.
The old model Pope's Island Station. Al Decker, was one owner. He had even Fort Black and Decker tools, and some of the other people had a lot of money. We even had cheap police from New York City there. And they would come to Chincoteague. Some almost did a party or somebody in the Washington to 12 people. And we would run on up Pope's Island Gunning Club.
Jack Dempsey worked up there too, didn't he?
Before me and Uncle Frog too. That's how I got it best. And they loved me to death because of Uncle Frog. He knew, because because he was excellent that time. Frog was. And he got paid $150 a week. I was right out of hospital. And tipped sometimes $100, $200. I've seen the goose for a man named Pascalina. He was actually a chef. And he would make the lasagna. We didn't know what lasagna was back when he was a kid. And yes, the man could cook. Well, anyway, I've seen this goose for him. He shot, he actually slept with it that night because he had a little alcohol amongst his And he gave me a $50 bill to sing this goose. It took me maybe 15, 20 minutes. So, there's all kinds of people. Sometimes they would bring their family like Thanksgiving, and another one would bring his children. They tipped us all very well, and it was a wonderful job.
And so everybody had to get there by boat, and they would come home and stay the whole week?
Yep, stay the whole week. We changed parties on Wednesdays. People in the city would come, they thought that was thing cool.
And then did you have supplies delivered along the way, or did you take everything with you?
Took everything back and forth. Sometimes you'd have to come down.
Get
had a
beer.
well, but you could get one in beer.
And how long of a trip? By boat?
By boat, you get there. 30 minutes from the creek.
And another thing you did as a youngster was in the oyster trade. And the shucking house was where the Island Motor is now, Reggie Stubbs's.
Yeah.
Do you work in more shucking houses than Reggie's?
Usually during Thanksgiving, of course, that's a busy time. Everybody wants oysters. And Christmas, everybody wants oysters. So most of the time I worked for Reggie. I worked in the packing room, but I did shovel oysters. And the man's last name was Cannon, and those oysters came from the Choptank River. Of course, they were put in a can that said fresh into oysters. But anyway, I did that, and we would get anywhere from 300 to 500 bushel in this truck. And you would have shovel me in a wheelbarrow. We had 2 wheelbarrows on the drive. There wasn't no conveyor belts. If the wheelbarrow full, you rolled on into the house, the oyster house, and they called it a bin that was placed up top. And you dump it, and you would just, until you get the trucks. But we got so much money, which I can't remember, for bushels. Me and Cooper used to do it a lot.
Well, a lot of the high school boys worked at the shucking houses before and after school.
And then they used to take me out of school, get called Tommy Phillips. My principal said we need Paul. Because, like I said, Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I'd go there and roll the empty shells. I imagine you remember seeing the shell heaps. They were high.
Taller than the buildings.
And they'd have the 2 to 6 to get your little track. And you were there, you all were. Going up there with this wheelbarrow south of ours. So John Burry decided he was going to help me, so he said, I'll do it. Of course, where I live was right across the street. Well, that shell heap was right there by Main Street. Well, John Burry wore glasses, and it was raining. Well, he was gone forever. Well, he went on the other side of that shell heap back in the road and tore himself up, and a car came and just barely missed it.
Another thing that I remember us doing as teenagers, which doesn't happen these days, is ice skating on Taylor Street and ice skating over at the beach.
Yes.
We got 14 stitches right there.
What, you got 14 stitches in your
playing
chain?
crack the whip. I went to those cat tables, and I went to stop. No, nothing there.
Was this over at the
Landed on my
beach?
chin. No,
It was
The Charlies.
Taylor Street.
Taylor Street.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ramron, he was partying. He had come in there and sewed me up. He was cussing us. You know how he was.
Did you ever see that in his hand the whole time you showed
Oh,
up?
yeah.
I remember that.
What the hell you were going to do
I
now?
always had that
He was
cigarette.
sewing me up. Well, he was mad with me.
But we would ice skate from Taylor Street, where Charlie Marshall lived, all the way to the road that leads into Pine Grove Campground.
Yeah. Okay.
Salt pond.
And we started a fire tire, a tire fire out there in the middle of the pond.
Come home.
Over
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. No,
at,
it's
at the beach as well, of course.
Yeah.
Now where we ice skated there is all overgrown now.
Mhm.
It's never a chance. So we could ever ice skate there again.
There was a lot of people.
We used to go out and
And they allowed us to have bonfires out on the ice and tires then too. Ice skating is
Hard to believe, man.
Well,
yeah.
you know, it doesn't freeze like it used to. My grandfather told stories. Now, he was born in 1900, met my grandmother in 1921. And he said that it used to freeze so solid that they would walk across the ice to Greenbackville and pull their boat behind them to get supplies. So they could take it all the way across. And we haven't seen that kind of ice in a long time.
So what other kind of jobs did you have as teenagers?
And I worked at the Dairy Dreams in Lee Savage for 2-3 summers, I guess I did. My first job away from Mom and Dad was for Sweet and Herman Fidget at the Beachway Motel.
Restaurant.
And restaurant. Not a motel, restaurant, Beachway Restaurant. And I was a dishwasher at the restaurant. I think I was 12. And the one thing I remember is Sweet one time I came in and I sat down on the table to talk to her and she yelled at me and told me to get up because tables were for glasses and not asses. And then, like I said, it was Lee, and then I worked off the island. I worked over at the Peace Token over on the Causeway. I did squeeze clams. I did.
Sea clam?
I squeezed sea clams for a summer.
And Paul, you worked at the flagship restaurant, which is now Steamers, and that at the time was owned by Russell Everett, was it?
Okay.
And what'd you do there?
Wash tables, wash dishes, get help out with to cook some. Martha actually wanted me to do take-up cookies. So I did that, got on the boat, and that was into my part of the road for that for me.
So another thing we had the pleasure of growing up with was the Dream Roller Rink.
Oh, yeah.
The Dream was fun. I remember going there very, very young. Dad used to take his daddy loved to skate. And it would be me and Jenny, and we'd take Darlene with us, or Sherry Savage, or whoever, one of our friends, and we'd all go. And Daddy loved to do the 3 skates where he got in the middle and we got on the outside. So he would whip us around those corners and send me into the long many a time. I never did the bus. Our mom and dad always drove us there and left us. And I was talking to Jimmy the other night about how his mother, she sat at that door. And she would not let a kid go out until their parents showed up to pick them up. If you went out, you didn't come back in. And she met your parent when they came to let her know that you didn't come back in. Yeah, she was strict. With lots of fun. It's probably Friday, Saturday night. I don't know. We spent a lot of time there skating. Beautiful.
It was a beautiful place and certainly very popular. And,
Great French fries.
well, she ran a real nice little snack bar there.
Yeah, she did.
And she took care of the front of the house, and Mr. Jimmy took care of the kids that were in the skating rink.
Well, he could skate too.
He was a very graceful.
Yes.
And then also downtown was Bob Toll's pool hall, but as you said, girls weren't allowed there. That was just a guy thing. But that was when you were a teenager.
Yeah, that's when I was a teenager.
Just a little pool hall in the back room of what is now Sundial Books. But it was a very, very popular place for the teenage boys.
Oh, yeah, the boys would have big time.
And I remember at one time they had a little place across there that had dances as well. It's just a little place behind the building that used to be there that was the Nash dealer.
Yeah,
Okay.
remember that.
Oh, okay.
But we-
Right. Was that building where I actually had like 2 stories? Yeah, either way.
Maybe you were already gone.
Yeah, might be.
So another character that Paula, you spent a great deal of time with, and I know we could do this whole interview just on your time with Cigar Daisy. But one story I want you to tell about is the chickens. Yeah.
Oh Lord. He wanted some chickens. He wanted like 6 chickens. Well, I went and got a case of beer and got the chickens. Well, I had drank a little bit of the beer before I got the chicken. So I got like 40 chickens. He was down there carving.
And was this on Piney Island? Oh, it was up here.
No,
Later
here.
years. Oh.
So see, I was conking at the time. I'd got laid off from the base, and I was entertaining them, I guess.
You were hanging out with a cigar.
Oh yeah, we got me locked up too. But anyway, well, coming over them chickens, he said, "What would possess a man?" he built a chicken place for him, but it wasn't back big as this table, and he told me that. But I said, "Lord, the more the better." He said, "No will possess a man to put 40 or 50 chickens in a little chicken place like that." He was mad enough to up. So we kept adding on to the chicken fence and on. Finally, of course, cigar. We put up one piece of wood, then he went right 2 beers. Boy, the wife come out, and she saw them chickens. Well, she really flipped out. And it was all my fault.
Anything else that you experienced with cigar that
The cigar, well, one of his famous little quotes is, "Never trust a man that won't take a beer."
never trust a man that would drink a beer?
Yeah, was him. That was his big sight.
And then you had a time where you were catching dust sharks?
Yeah, Shelley Bay, there were Queen Sam, Shelley Bay, there was just to the northwest of that bay there. Keiki, and all that bunch from down to Marsh were waiting clams there. Well, there was so many of these sand dusky sharks, they're somewhere between 75 and 100 pounds, that they couldn't wade because they were afraid to get overboard. So Jimmy Wilton, me, Ruth Terry, John Berry, I don't know who else. We had big old pole, bow and arrow, shotguns, buckshot. We went over there and annihilated the sharks. So we dug them up on the shore fronts. In the summertime, when you know how sharks go anyway, there comes the cops. Well, who do you think they come to? Jimmy Wilton. We were the only 2. We had to take, because there were big sharks in our boats when they were like 14 foot long. We had to take 4 or 5 at a time there to pull on the beach. Throw them overboard and kept doing it, and we were like 3 days on it. The cops were going to lock themselves.
The cops were going to lock
Oh,
you
yeah,
up
because of that
leaving
smell.
Sharks along the
Yeah.
shore. So they made you take them out to sea and dump them.
Yeah, but we had to do it.
And then Jane, you've told me stories about how the laundromat was really a place of entertainment for you because it was open.
What did you do, get inside there?
No, we
The
did.
dryer?
We did used to get warm inside the dryer. It was warm in there. When we were, I guess 15, 16, somewhere around there, I had a friend that moved down from the city and became a good friend of mine. And she was bored, needless to say, after living in the city and coming to Chincoteague. And we'd go ride around and there'd be nothing to do. So we'd park the car and we'd walk downtown and we'd go to the laundromat and watch people's clothes go around the dryer because we thought that was just as exciting as just about anything else we could do.
And it was warm.
And it was warm in there, and if somebody had taken the clothes out, you could set in the dryer and get rid of them.
Now, I remember a laundromat being right on the corner of Cleveland Street.
And where Ruby Lee's little park is.
Where Ruby's Lee's Park is, and Silco's store,
Yes.
where your mom worked, was next door.
Yes. Well, Silco used to be across the street where Lucky Big Park is.
Yeah.
When it was originally Silco.
Then after the flood, it was across the street.
Yeah.
But I remember when I would be walking to town, the smell of laundry coming out the vents in the alley between that building and the Silco building I can still remember that smell today.
And you could also get warm there.
Yeah,
because
you
the
would
buildings-
get
That's
warm
where
there, 'cause-
frog and tadpole was hanging out.
Frog and tadpole, and
Yeah.
this frog that we're talking about, frog and tadpole,
Uh-huh.
wasn't your Uncle Frog.
No.
No, and frog and tadpole were brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and they would stand at the base of the bridge and wave to oncoming traffic that came in,
Smoking cigars.
smoking their cigars. Exactly.
Yeah.
Frog and tadpole. Do you remember what their last name was?
No, I don't.
We can think of it if you gave us a couple minutes, probably. But we had two frogs.
Yeah, we
Your
did.
Uncle Frog, and then Frog and Tadpole brothers.
That's what Frog called the Nora, the youngest daughter. That's why I call her tadpole. Yeah.
And something else, days gone by, is swimming down the inlet.
Yeah. There was yes, I guess you call it the marina.
The harbor.
The harbor
Curtis Merritt Harbor
on Sunday.
was our swimming hole.
Yes, it was.
But it wasn't the harbor, it was just
It
home.
was just out.
But it did feed,
Yeah, it was title.
it was tidal, if
And a
that,
lot of
yeah.
people, we take fried chicken down there on, I mean, it was quite the place to go.
Well, it was our
Yeah,
beach.
It
Because
was.
that was before
And see,
the bridge came in.
That's correct.
before the inlet, before the bridge over to the island, I remember on Sunday afternoons after church, picnic gets packed, and we would all go around to the point, I guess the hook.
The old Coast Guard
Go down,
station.
Oh, yeah.
down by the Coast Guard station, and there'd be 50 boats or more out there. Everybody's kids swimming and picnicking and just having a wonderful time. And then coming home, and of course it gets cool in the evening. Mom would put us down the bottom of the scow and cover us up with blankets and we bounce all the way up.
When the Coast Guard station was down there by the, going to the beach, we actually took a tour, I think we were in second or third grade, I can't remember, and that's how they got down there, these World War II Willis Jeeps. And they took us down there, we thought that was the greatest thing in the world.
It's second grade, that was your field
Second
trip.
or third grade, yeah, and we went all the way down, and they cooked us hot dogs and the bag of potato chips and got the Coca-Cola. And the boys got to go up the tower, it was a big, tall tower, we got to walk all the way up the top there and got there over the ocean, we thought we had a ball.
Whoever's in charge of the beach, the game warden or whatever, his daughter was in a class.
Yes, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, about that.
They was used to have parties up there, the highest.
So Nancy Noble was the daughter of one of the early refuge managers.
Uh-huh. And she was in our class
Yes, she was on fire.
for just a couple of years. I mean, they weren't year
Maybe 2
long.
years.
And the old bridge that Wild Maddox brought in that opened up our world to the beach. Certainly you saw the change in the island at that point. We went from being a fisherman's village to a
Beach.
tourist village
Yeah.
where we could go to the beach. But we had some great gatherings at that beach over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we used to have bonfires and beach parties and, yeah.
And the road went all the way down to the Coast Guard station. You could drive a regular car.
Yeah.
And then when it froze and got icy, we'd go over there and do donuts in the parking lot.
That was ball.
On the ice, you know, learn how to spin and correct your spin because they had that gigantic, it used to be paved. The south end of the parking lot, it was paved, and you could do big donuts out there.
In your Corvair.
And like we're there.
All right, well, we're going to go back to you growing up on the water and what's some of the things that you did on the water?
We did a lot of skiing and ski boarding, which I was much better at than skiing. I think that we cruised, just like the kids do in cars. We cruised in our boats, just up and down the channel. Spent a lot of time at Mud Island. After the Army Corps of Engineers came through and dug out the channel and made what we always called Mud Island. We go over there with old bottles and things like that.
So Mud Island is the island now that's across Lewis Creek that's across from the island motor inn
Right.
and heading north. So do you remember that before that island was there?
Mhm.
And I remember when the Corps of Engineers came and pumped all that oil and that's what they called it on the
Yeah.
upper side. You would sit there with baskets playing and just sit.
And just pull the clams out and they were doing it,
And
yeah.
then we go sell them.
But then, Jane, you mentioned bottles out there, and it seems to me that one time I heard that was a place where they dumped a lot of bottles.
Well, they just, it's not that they dumped the bottles.
Oh.
They just dumped
They dumped
everything into the channel. It was their garbage dump. as many times people that live on water and they don't have a garbage dump, it goes out there. Everything. So when they dug it all up and piled it up, all those bottles and everything that were in there, you know, the garbage deteriorates, but glass doesn't. So all those bottles were there, and you could drive by, and after the tide would go down, you could see the bottoms of the tops of the glass sticking out. You could dig around and pull them out. And a lot of Rumford baking soda bottles, a lot of like vanilla bottles, things that spices, things that came in glass.
Well, I know a girl that still finds a lot of old bottles out there when
I'm
she
sure.
goes, because Ray Twyford owns the oyster campgrounds on the other side of there, and his wife Laura goes looking, and she finds some treasures.
Yeah, most people that live in the creek, because I live down the creek, they would take their trash. I mean, a lot of people throw it in the creek, so when the tide would rise, it would go up the bed. When the tide would fall, it would come back.
And everything gets buried as time
Yeah, tide
goes.
goes on. I mean, we didn't do it, but the older people, that's all they ever knew. You walk out the back door and throw it in the creek.
And you were talking about cars at Barney's, the dock where the oyster house used to be, my
Yeah.
grandfather's, the dock got longer every year. Every time a car would go bad, throw it in, oyster shells,
Yeah.
dock gets longer. Another car, oyster shells, dock gets longer.
But all of that area along where you grew up, Jane, and your father had his boat rental, and Daisy had his boat rental. If you look at an aerial photograph of that, a lot of fill was done along that
A
whole
lot of
shoreline.
them. Even afterwards, as the comfort
Suites
and
and Hampton
Hampton
Inn.
Inn.
The drugstore used to have an aerial photo
Because-
of R&R boat rentals, and there was a big waterway there.
there were 3 slips where the comfort is. There was the clam people, the people that own the clam boats. There was ours, and there was Abe's. And then there was Ralph and this over here, and then there was another one beside. So there were 5 docks that were completely filled out to the channel. 5 slips filled out to the channel for those motels we built. And I don't think they used old cars this time.
And they had to get permits to do it, whereas in the old days, there was no permit process about anything.
Yeah.
And when I came along, there was a dump on Depot that we all took our trash to, and that dump is actually located where the parking lot for the
Yeah.
community center is now, and Public Works, and the town of Chincoteague developed their whole process, their whole business operations are right there where our town dump used to be.
That's where the honey wagon used to dump too.
And
Honey
your,
wagon used to dump there too?
and your elementary school and dog park, they were just swamped.
It's all that way.
All swamp. I remember Jenny tried to drive through there one time. Like you were saying, you got stuck. We got the car stuck right
On the fire road.
on the fire road. Oh yeah, past the axles. I didn't think they'd ever get it off.
Yeah, fire road had some big holes in it.
Yes, they did. Hard to believe.
Well, I'm certainly glad whoever decided to change the fire road to Hallie Smith, because it's the back road for me now if I want to
Yeah.
get downtown. So let's just touch base on some of the teachers you had in school, maybe some of the jokes you played on, or some of the things that you remember that those teachers taught you that you carried with you through the rest of your life.
Well, our first male teacher was 5th grade, Mr. Metzler, and
Gray Metzler.
Ray Metzler. And I don't know about the other girls in class, but I was deeply in love with him. I baked him a peach pie because I loved him so much. And
Did you scratch his back?
I scratched his back. I was 12 and so in love with that man. And it was male teachers. Then we got Mr. Chrisman.
Yeah.
Mr. Chrisman taught me a lot of things.
Now, Mr. Chrisman, this
Was a
is Bill
shop teacher.
Chrisman.
Bill Chrisman.
Yeah.
He taught industrial arts. We
Yes.
called it shop.
He was our shop
They don't
teacher.
even have it anymore.
Yeah, it's no longer taught anywhere. But he allowed girls to take shop. No shop teacher before him allowed that to happen. And I was the second girl to take shop, my sister being the first. And I think that main thing that Mr. Chrisman taught me was that if I wanted to do it, I could, and that as long as you had the right tool for the job, you could do any job you put your mind to. And I think that was the main thing that he taught me.
Mr. Enright?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Enright, Shakespeare. It must be Shakespeare. Or my favorite one that he made us read. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. So, yeah, he was really into the literature part of English,
And
yes.
both of you attended your 50th class reunion just this past weekend. 50 years, how'd that happen?
I don't know.
I think too long.
It doesn't feel like 50 years at all.
No, it doesn't. That's crazy.
And Mr. Enright doesn't seem to age.
Well, you know, somebody said that the other day. I was saying that about him, and I said, if you realize that he was fresh out of college when he came to us.
Yes, he would.
So he wasn't more than maybe 7, 8 years older than us.
That's it.
So, yeah, maybe 10 years at the most. The same thing with Mr. Christman. He was fresh out of college when he came to us.
And so you had some of the famous old teachers like
Lillian Rue?
Lillian Rue, of course, who was a wealth of knowledge about the history of the island.
Yes, she was.
There was Mrs. Tillman, O'Connor,
Yeah.
Mrs. Tarr.
She was real mean.
Of
course, I didn't act right.
Well, the bad thing about it was most of those people had taught my dad. Hell, English too.
You did? Hell yeah.
They might have taught my grandfather, I'm not sure.
They were ready.
And they all had blue hair.
That blue ring.
That blue lips that they used to put on their hair.
Miss Tillman especially was famous for her green and bluish hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Christine Conklin, I remember, had the best sense of humor.
She taught me how to type, and she was no joke.
And she joked a lot, though.
Yeah, but she had this little stick when you get off. They had music going. We were known you go like this. If you get off key, she called him now. She was something.
How about Miss Gillis? Was she one of your teachers?
7th grade, I had her.
Yeah, we
She
did.
was,
She was pretty mean.
she's tired me and Dave Gillespie up.
She was.
Huh?
She wasn't even.
She was mean.
She always looked mean too.
She smoked smokers too. She like smoke all
She
the time.
smelled. Didn't she used to chaperone our NYF trip? Was she one of the
She
chaperones?
might have been.
I think she was.
She might have been.
I think so. Her and Miss Hall.
Miss Hill, now she was nice.
He's mother.
She was my first grade teacher.
Maybe
Was she your
her.
first grade teacher?
Uh-huh. She lived on the corner of Smith
Across the street.
Yeah.
There's a bed and breakfast there now, right? Yeah.
She lived a couple houses down. Mabel Leonard lived on the corner.
Okay. That's it, maybe right.
All right, well,
And
if you
then-
can think of anything
Well,
else.
no, you know, I want to elaborate a little bit on the school. When we were in 9th grade, I think it was, we started busing students from the mainland. Up until that time, we had been a pretty white community, even with our 4 black children. We were a white community. They were never thought of as being black.
No.
And along with the blacks that got bussed in, we also got black teachers, which I think changed my outlook on life, because we had Miss Washington,
Girl Holden.
Miss Handy, and
Earl Holden.
Earl Holden. But Miss Washington was the history teacher, and no longer did we have all white history. She started letting us know that there were blacks in our history too, and things they had done. And I think that opened up a new world. I know for me, I don't know about for the rest of the people.
Well, I think it did.
But it did. It opened up a new world to us because it was something that we hadn't experienced before.
And speaking of black children on Chincoteague, I heard you say, Paul, that you and Chip Lewis threw Charlie Marshall in the channel and taught him to swim
Yes, the Vermonters campground.
at Barney's campground.
And Vitamin, we could never get him to do it.
Charlie's brother Vitamin, you couldn't get him to swim, but you threw Charlie in channel.
But when Charlie came up, of course, I don't know about the hair, but it looked like it had bubbles all over it. I don't know. And we thought that was the funniest thing, so we kept saying, Charlie, get your hair wet again. Which, I don't know how to explain it, like it was shiny or something. One had that oil in his hair or something. I don't know.
Okay, well, we can wind it up unless you think of anything else. I'm sure there's lots of other things we can talk about. Thank you so much for joining us today, Paul and Jane. It was great to see both of you and share your memories of growing up on Chincoteague in the 70s. In the good old days. We just didn't know in the good old days.
And how did you learn to swim?
Me?
Somebody throw you in the channel?
No, I think I actually learned. I don't remember. Maybe probably, I don't know.
Russell would throw us in the channel. And he'd hook us up to the oyster,
Oh,
the thing
yeah.
that he'd bring the buckets of
Yeah.
oysters up, and he'd hook a belt around us and
Oh.
hook it onto the belt for us in the channel. And if we started to sink, he'd pull it up just enough to keep us above water so we didn't swallow it.
I think I learned that from back then.
Okay.
That's what I did this. But I learned a lot.
I thought maybe everybody learned by getting chucked in the channel.
Yeah, a lot of them got chunked.